Let's get into it.
Try to take over the world.
Preaching freedom
Try to take over the world.
And greatest chaplain in the world, Mr. Lance O'Neil.
Try to take over the world.
All right. Hey, it is 8:30 on a Sunday, man. Do you know where your POGs are? I know you missed us because we sure in hell missed you guys. Welcome back to another edition of Two POGs. It's your boy K.J. with the greatest chaplain in the world, Mr. Chaplain Lance O'Neil, with a lot less stress off his back. Congratulations, my brother. You look a lot less stressful.
If you can call it that. There's still a lot of story to be told. And until I'm out of the Army, I don't think I can tell the full story, because it's one of those, well, if you tell the story, it's going to look bad on other people as well. Yeah. And we all know how the Army loves to say, oh, no, you have freedom of speech. You have freedom. You can do what you want as long as you're not denigrating, other officers or senior NCOs, then you're fine. So just I will say this. For the last 10 months, I've been under a cloud of investigation and, in my opinion, false allegations and such. And the conclusion came on Friday. Well, what I think is the conclusion was on Friday. But I won't be going back to work as a chaplain in the role I've been in. They're gonna put me out to pasture and let me focus on retiring for the next 10 or 11 months. So that's kind of where we're at. It's I have some follow-up questions. It's funny because I got a phone call Saturday, and I went in and responded to a soldier in need. And within an hour, I'm getting called. Why'd you do that? Why did you respond? I'm like, because I got a phone call from the NCOs that said a soldier needed assistance. And so I haven't done anything in 10 months. So I thought I'd go help. Well, you're not supposed to. So now the question is, no, wait a minute. Am I allowed to do pastoral care or not? And if not, okay, then if the answer is no, I'll have to decide how I want to handle that. And if the answer is yes, then what's the problem? Yeah. I'm not asking to go back into the full-time AIT environment, but yeah, it's very different perceptions. And since the entire 10 months of my life has been based on other people's perception, when I say something like, well, what you're proposing is a punishment, and they say, oh, no, it's not a punishment. Well, I perceive it as a punishment. So we'll see how it all goes. But for the most part, at this point, my understanding is I'm good to go. I will still be retiring next summer. I'm still a chaplain as far as I'm concerned, until I'm told otherwise. And if I'm told otherwise before I retire, there's going to be, I think, some fit hitting the shan.
Yeah.
It could be worse. It could be worse. I could be getting accused of changing my rank on my retirement and my DD 214 for personal benefit if I decided to run for Congress. Could be other things. So how was that for a transition, KJ?
Indeed. Let's jump right into it. I'm glad you brought it up. So here we go. First topic of the night, man, the weirdo versus the valor thief. So our VPs have stolen the show here lately. This is a really weird ticket, man. I thought this was going to be a really mellow ticket, and I got really excited when they first got announced. But this is really turning out to be a really weird freaking ticket, man. You got the two people at the ticket. They do really well when they're on script, but when they go off script and off topic, they sound really They sound like lunatics, man. They sound really chaotic and crazy. And then you got the VPs who just can't seem to get it together. You got one who's just, I don't know, man. People have labeled him as this weird, out of touch guy. And he's just, for us military dudes, he's a Marine, and you're just like, oh, he's just one of those guys. And you got the other dude he's a soldier, he's no soldier, and you're just like, yeah, we've all worked with those guys. So you've kind of worked, being a veteran, you've kind of worked with both of those guys before, and you're just like, yeah, I can see it. And the labels kind of fit, and you're just like, all right, cool. I do have videos for both. I was able to find an interview where they interviewed the sergeant major, or the master sergeant major, whichever way you
Master sergeants, yes.
So we can look at that one and kind of get some insight on that. He didn't really get a chance to do a lot of talking because it was a CNN interview, and we all know how those interviews go. But the nuggets he did provide were a little interesting, and you got a little bit of perspective from his side.
Yeah.
And then we can come back on the back end. So let's jump right into it. Hear what he got to say, and then we'll come back. So let me get that queued up.
Meanwhile, I'm trying to get my chair fixed, and I look like an idiot. That I can't get the chair the way I want it.
Hold tight. Here we go. Where's it? Oh man. See, I'm out of touch, man. That's why I can't keep skipping episodes, because I forget how to work all the controls.
And I'm on my wife's in in her work chair, so that's why I'm a little bit off.
Yeah, we are all over the place today. All right, here we go. Window, boom. Let's see what we got. Can you see that? We in? Let's check it out.
Is your concern that it's, oh, go ahead. But I do want to ask this question quickly, Sergeant Major, and I appreciate your time. But is your concern about the manner in which he
was going forward. Had he gotten his orders yet? No, at that time he had not. As far as being a command sergeant major, he, as soon as he retired, or I'm going to go with the term retired, which he did, and he was.
There we go. Can you hear me? You got to unmute yourself. You're muted. No, you're muted. I can't hear you.
Unmute. There we go. Now you can hear me.
Now you're back.
I couldn't hear any of that video, though. I know what was said because I've seen it, but let me get set up. And so hopefully when we cut this, it doesn't look quite as stupid as it would otherwise.
No, you're good. So
there we go.
Yeah,
okay.
The gist of it is the sergeant major said, hey, man, we basically had a handshake agreement. He told me that he was going down range, and I believed he was going down range. He wasn't stop lost, but he knew he was going down range. Of course, he could have retired. He was well within his right to retire, but it would have been nice. We do things differently. No, he didn't. It wasn't illegal for him to retire. It's just we do things a certain way. He gave me his word, and then he went above my head and retired, behind my back. Which, as veterans and as active duty military, we understand there's it's not necessarily illegal to do certain things, but there is definitely a Blue Falcon way to do certain things. And what what this Sergeant Major is explaining is he definitely took the Blue Falcon way out in his unit, right? Was it illegal? No, it wasn't. It's just it was a messed up situation. He gave his word to his high echelon command team that they can count on him, and then kind of left him high and dry at the last minute. And then depending on how you feel about that, that's just that's a tough sell, man. I get it. I get why people are upset about it. It's one of them things, man. He made a decision. I don't know if he would have, looking back on it, if he could have done it differently, he would have, but he made a decision. Thoughts?
Well, I think there's a couple parts that people are upset about. The part of he agreed to go, and then he kind of went around the command sergeant major's back and asked to retire at that point. That is definitely something that bothers those of us who know.
Yeah,
that's a big part of it. For me, so when you get to your first unit as a chaplain, you're generally there for about 2 years, and then you do what's called an interpost transfer. So you stay on the same post, but you transfer units. Well, at that 2-year mark, our unit, KJ and I were in the same unit. Our unit was getting ready to deploy. I could have begged off. I could have said, no, I've been here 2 years. It needs to be somebody else. I actually fought to stay with the unit. And I said, no, I've been with these guys for 2 years. I'm not going to let somebody else deploy in my place. These are my guys. I'm going. So those of us that know, that's a big deal. Yep. For those of us, for the people who don't know, let me do one more for the people that know. And KJ, let me ask you this. Do you think it's telling at all that after 24 years, this sergeant major, upon retirement, did not have a single meritorious service medal or Legion of Merit, and his retirement award was an ARCOM, which is an Army Commendation Medal? If you knew somebody that was their retirement award, what would you think about that? Explain to people kind of what that is.
So that's a unique situation. I don't know how the National Guard does things, but I do know I have a very unique experience. But because I was medically retired, my sergeant major wanted to retire me with an ARCOM after 18 years of service, and it wasn't until my Divardi commander got wind of it, and he had to step in on my behalf and be like, "Are you out of your freaking mind? There's no way in hell this NCO is going to retire with an ARCOM," to where it was upgraded to an MSM. So basically, an ARCOM is traditionally the ARCOM was given to someone. It's an Army Commendation Medal, and it's given to someone who goes above and beyond, right? But here in later generations, it's been kind of watered down a little bit and kind of been seen as a lower enlisted achievement medal, normally given to lower level lieutenants who put together unit level events, or soldiers who win unit level boards, that sort of thing, right? So to get an Army Commendation Medal is it's seen as doing the bare minimum, or just doing what you're supposed to do at a slightly above average level, if that makes sense. You would normally get an RCOM if you score higher than average on your APFT, or if you shoot higher than the platoon average or the company average at the weapons range. So just to give you guys some perspective on RCOMs. So for him to retire with an RCOM probably makes sense, because at that point, I'm sure he had very little friends in the unit after he decided to retire. So the fact that he got anything is surprising. I'm pretty sure he did not leave with a plaque or hail and farewell. So there's definitely that. Yeah, you can speak to. You spent some time on that side of the fence. How are awards given and issued out on that side? You got to go. You were charging. Okay.
All right.
There you go.
I'm having all the issues.
That's all right, man. It's
I gotta switch my camera. Let's see if I can even do it. I'm gonna drop right out and come right back in.
You good? Hey,
Sorry.
while you're going, I'm gonna play the Afghan video.
Yeah, please do.
All right. Oh, where'd you go? All right. Don't let me drop out too. All right. So we are going to present next. We're going to play our potential VP. So what we're going to play next in this video is Representative Waltz is discussing his time in Afghanistan. But as we've come to know now that he didn't really spend too much time over that way. So we're going to play a video. Come on. I should be able to add the screen. Hold on. Let me see. Let me see if I can add you back to the stage. There you go. All right.
There we go.
All right, cool. Just
Had to go different angle and different head. I took the headphones off. I don't know what's going on. This is all kinds of.
It's all good.
Ticking me off though.
All right, so here we go.
Of you, with your keen understanding of how this works, especially from National Guard families, I can tell you that having been one of those that came back, we were in support of OEF, but sitting in there with OIF veterans, when we came back, they showed us the horse whisperer and told us to be nice when we went home. And that was the extent of it. That was in 2004. Now, I'm proud to say that because of the people sitting in here and people who came before me, things have changed over the last 4 years. They have not changed enough. But Mr. Kennedy is following and moving something forward that the late senator from Minnesota, Senator Wellstone, advocated so clearly: mental health parity and this issue of destigmatization.
Okay. So all right, so we're back. All right, so I've been known to jump the gun on sensationalism a time or two, right? But in this testimony, in this inference, right? What I heard, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, when he was using the term "we," I think he was using it in a unit sense, not necessarily we as in I went with him, but we as a unit together. So you know how everybody has to go through training, right? So even when you come back from a deployment, all the rear D guys, they still got to go sit in on that training because you got to go get accounted for. So when he was talking about going to all that training, he was like, oh, when we came back, we had to sit through this training and we had to do this and we had to do that. I don't necessarily believe he was talking about we as in I went. I could be wrong, but that's just how I interpret it. Now, I've gotten caught in that before, you know, and I've had to take my chops. I didn't hear that. I watched this video before and I was like, I don't know, it could be. I'd have to kind of, you know what I'm saying? Like I'd have to kind of see it, but just in that little clip, I just didn't hear. I think it's one of them, you know, we as a unit, you know, one of them.
So you've got, and you can look at it, depends on which way you want to look at it. Democrats and you're not a Democrat, but you are much more open to the Harris Waltz ticket than I am.
Yeah.
And so you're going to have, this is going to be one of those, how you think about Waltz is going to affect how you look at the video, right?
Yeah.
So I understand that on its own, it could be fairly innocuous. He might be speaking as a whole, as a group. We went, I know, I'm military, so, the Air Force has really been struggling with this, that, the other. And so I know what that's like, because we go through that, and I'm Army. So, but we in the military sense, so I can see that. But I think that when you start looking at some of the things that are a little more, when you take them at face value individually, they're fairly innocuous. You can probably, okay, I can see it. But when you start seeing them all together, where it's the RCOM, it's the I deployed when I didn't, the weapons of combat, I've held weapons of combat in a war zone. No, you didn't. I'm a retired sergeant major. No, you're not. You're a retired master sergeant. And for those of you who are saying, well, does it really matter? Yes and no. The fact that he was putting out official documents with Master Sergeant retired,
Command Sergeant
Major retired. That's really not okay. And you can say, well, he held that position, so that's good. That's good enough. Look, when I was a sergeant first class, I was tagged to be the acting first sergeant for a year. I was also tagged to be the acting company commander for 4 months.
Right.
Well, does that mean I should put former company commander on my official documents? No, of course not, because rank is a little bit different position, but that's what, in his case, the command sergeant major position was a position, not a rank in that case, right? He was the acting command sergeant major. He was acting. Right. So when you start adding them up, that's where it's a little bit iffy. But here's the other side of it for me. I'm not voting for the vice president or voting against the vice president.
Right.
It's one of those things. You and I talked about it, where we both thought that Mark Kelly would have been a much better choice, much safer choice.
I almost think the being rushed to pick that candidate, they weren't able to properly vet. You know what I'm saying? And correct. I think that's where it kind of hindered her. And I'm like, man, you had such a slam dunk with Mark Kelly. I knew it was going to be an issue with Shapiro. Shapiro's never really been the number 2 kind of guy. And VP Harris isn't really, like, I think putting Shapiro on, the only issue I saw with her picking Shapiro was Shapiro would really outshine her. Like, he has one of the personalities where he could really overtake the ticket. Kelly could play his role, but that dude is a rock star. Like, he is solid. And I think his credibility would probably end up hurting Harris. So she went with the safe pick with this guy. And they didn't. I don't necessarily think they vetted her properly. I think it's the same issue that the red team is having. They went too safe, and it might bite them in the butt in the end.
So let me push back just a little bit on Shapiro. Identity. I'm not a fan of identity politics and all that.
Yeah.
That said, I truly believe he was not picked because he's Jewish.
How?
I think the Hamas thing and the Palestinian movement by the young people in this country, the protests that are going, I think that is such a kind of left-leaning progressive moment or idea. That's my 10-year-old rapper. Okay. I think that is such a thing that they got spooked by it. Now, should it matter? I don't think it should matter at all. I don't care. But I do think I saw that idea floated, and when it was floated, I thought, oh, you know what? Now you can disagree, and that's fine. I do think that potentially was part of the algebra, though.
The only reason why is because her husband's a practicing Jew, so it's kind of like
doesn't matter.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You're not picking the husband. if you KJ, if you polled 100 Democrats today and you said, what is Kamala Harris's husband's name? How many could name him?
Fair enough.
I can't tell you his name. I have no idea. My wife, who's walking through, just said she's married. Okay. So when you're talking about what his religious faith is and whatever, I don't think they know. But if you say Shapiro, then suddenly they go, first thought is Ben Shapiro. She picked Ben Shapiro? What? I think there's idiots who would actually on the left who would actually go, he must be related to Ben Shapiro. How could she do that to us? But
no way.
But here's the thing. Again, I don't think the VP picks really matter. I think that once you start going to policy, and this is why I am so frustrated with what's going on. Yeah. We are having the 2020 election 2.0.
Yeah.
The media is actively ignoring their job, which is to vet presidential candidates. Now, you can say Trump isn't getting vetted, but Trump has been
I think it's more like 2016, honestly. And I'll tell you why.
Oh, you think?
Go ahead. I'll explain to you. But go ahead, finish your thought.
Oh, I just think that it's more like 2020 in terms of Harris is not being challenged by the media. Biden was the de facto. He was the presumptive, and that's who they kind of. I mean, you think about what the DNC did. They handed it to Biden. Like, you can say, oh no, there was a primary and all that. Those cards were stacked. They were stacked the same way in 2016 for Hillary. I would say stacked to some. Well, no, I don't think 2008. I think Obama just won that because he came out of nowhere and he was.
He did 08 and 12. Obama won that. There was nobody in the party that was going to beat him.
Well, what's funny in 08, it was stacked for Hillary, but Obama came in and just slapped the cards out of everybody's hands. Went, wow, that's not what we're doing.
There was nobody beating Obama and nobody.
Yeah. But you remember they wanted to. That was supposed to be Hillary.
They tried, but they tried, but it wasn't going to happen. Yeah.
Right. So 2016, it was stacked for Hillary. 2020, it was stacked for Biden. 2024, literally not one person voted for Harris. So talking about stacked. But on top of it, the media, I think Hillary was pretty well vetted. Everybody knew what they were getting with Hillary. And that's one of the reasons she lost, is because everybody kind of knew what you were getting with Hillary.
Yeah.
With Biden, ironically, a lot of the stuff that Biden had done in the past that had been vetted previously, like in 1996, where he had to drop out because of plagiarism, some of those things, and all the comments. I mean, you go back and you start looking at some of the things that Joe Biden has said and done throughout his career. If the media had done its job, there is no way in 2020 he would have been nominated. He was a train wreck as far as history goes.
Estimate the power of 44, man.
Well, I don't think so, because if they had done it the same way in 96, Biden doesn't get elected. But here's the other advantage here's the other thing Biden had in 2020. He didn't have to campaign. It was the COVID campaign.
So two things saved Joe Biden in 2020, right? Because you got to remember, Biden was dead in the water, right? Biden was dead. Two things saved Joe Biden. Barack Obama came out after Joe Biden personally pleaded for him. Barack Obama came out and personally endorsed him. And in the South Carolina primary where Joe Biden was losing, Jim Clyburn, the most respected person in the South Carolina in the South Carolina Congress, came out and gave that impassioned speech where he came out and said, "We know Joe, and most importantly, Joe knows us." Overnight, Joe shot to the top of the ticket and won the primary.
Who? Okay. Before Clyburn and before President Obama, because I thought Obama, if I remember right, I thought in 2020, didn't President Obama stay out and he didn't endorse anybody until Biden actually had the delegates? I thought he said, "Hey, I'm not going to get involved."
He didn't, but he came out and campaigned for Joe. That's what
just the campaign. Okay. So let me ask you this then.
but he came out and campaigned for Joe Biden.
Okay, so coming out of Iowa and coming out of New Hampshire, who was at that point? Who was the leader heading after the first three holes?
I got to go look it up, but I know. So Klobuchar was Klobuchar, Buttigieg was like top 2 or 3. What was that girl? It was Klobuchar, Buttigieg, and the other girl. I can't remember her name.
Where was Bernie Sanders in that?
I don't know. Was he in 2020? I thought because after they took it from him in 2016, I don't know if he went back and ran again.
Oh, he did. That's who they were worried about. They didn't want to see Bernie.
Yeah, they destroyed Bernie. Yeah, it was they destroyed. Yeah, that's when they literally forced him out. That's right. It was Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders, Buttigieg, and Klobuchar. And remember, Tulsi was getting momentum too, because she was still a Democrat at the time. And then you had Bloomberg, who was just dumping money, like throwing gobs of money just for no reason, just to cause chaos. So Biden was really in trouble, man. And it wasn't until he got 14% of the Iowa caucus. He got 8% of the New Hampshire caucus. So he was getting his ass kicked. It wasn't until and then he only got 19% of the Nevada caucus. It wasn't until in South Carolina where he got 49% to where he got saved. So it wasn't even close. Like I said, Bernie got 20%, 26% in Iowa, and Buttigieg got 25%. In New Hampshire, Bernie got 26%, Buttigieg got 24%. And then in Nevada, Bernie got 40% and Buttigieg got 17%. So they was front running the whole way. And then in South Carolina, that's when they were like, all right, put an end to this. It's going to be Joe. Everybody else chill out. And after that,
Bernie, because Bernie is very much the comparison for me for Bernie Sanders in the Democratic Party is Ron Paul in the Republican Party. Really popular kind of guy with the average person. They see things, but as far as the establishment goes, that's great that you vote with us, but we're not about to hand over the reins to you.
Exactly.
And I think that's really what happened, because Joe Biden was that known quantity. And you want to put the tin hat on, let me borrow the tin hat for a minute, which would be the Democratic Party, Reid, Barack Obama, was still the head of the party, and he was the one who was pushing the agenda and probably has his fingerprints all over the current Biden administration's agenda. So fast forward now, and you have Kamala Harris, and you've got somebody who is not running on her record at all. Ironically, some of the stuff that in the campaign, now I will be very upfront. This election cycle for me are blips, and they're the ones that pop. The assassination attempt by on Trump, the debate, Harris being named. If you start going into minutiae and some of that stuff, I've read like 2 polls. Like I see the headlines, Harris leading the poll. I haven't even clicked on. I'm not even reading it because I don't. I think there's so much just noise going on right now, and no substance. And the things that I know though, and I watch and I am paying attention to, are the few things I've read about Harris. She came out and she's tough on the border. That was the headline this weekend.
Yeah, that was a bad ad. That was a horrible ad.
She flipped the script on border. Are you?
I told my wife when I saw it, I was like, whoever approved that needs to be fired immediately. I was like, that's a horrible play.
If the American people look, if Harris is the if Harris is elected as president, I'm not one of those people who says America is going to be destroyed in the next 4 years. I think that if anything, that really is why it was so important for Trump to be the president from 2016 until 2020, because he could put the Supreme Court in place that would keep any real true damage from happening. That said,
Do I think that the policies that she's espousing now, do I think that she's going to get tough on the border? No, I I just don't. I think she's doing, and we've talked about this. I think she is doing what she needs to do, like every other politician does, to get elected. And then once elected,
Yeah.
do whatever the F you want. And I think Trump, that's the funniest part about Trump is the people that say, well, Trump will say whatever he can, he'll say whatever to get elected. But I think if you were to look back, Trump's pretty much done exactly what not exactly. He said, I'm going to make sure Hillary gets charged. And then he realized that's probably a bad look. Although now, if he won, he'd go, hey, they did it to me. Why shouldn't I do it to them? A few other things, the border wall definitely didn't get done, but he didn't realize that it's not up to him. It's up to the purse strings of Congress to pay for things like that. But in a general sense, I think Trump did about as much as he was, I don't want to say allowed to do, but allowed to do.
That's ultimately what it is, man. You can only do what they're going to allow you to do. And that's any president, blue, red, indifferent. The same with the immigration bill. Trump made a couple of phone calls. I mean, you went from, hey, we got a bipartisan bill. We're good. Mitch McConnell, one day is like, hey, we worked our ass off. We finally got it done to, I'm never voting on, we're not going to vote on this bill.
So KJ, let me ask you on that. Do you think that at that point, Trump really, I guess I'm dubious about how much power Trump has. Like if I'm Mitch McConnell and I'm getting ready to, I'm not running again. I'm going to be, leaving the Senate. I hate Trump as, I'm speaking as Mitch McConnell, not as myself. I don't have a lot of strong feelings towards Trump policies, person, but wouldn't McConnell be like, F you, dude, this is a good bill? Because this is a little bit different. And I'm actually surprised that nobody on the Democrats, I'm not sure why they haven't made the connection between the border bill and the Pentagon Papers and saying, look, there was basically a peace agreement in place, or at least the outline of one between North and South Vietnam, and Richard Nixon through Kissinger pretty much called the South Korean president and said, hey, don't do this, because if you do this, that's going to be a major win for Johnson, and then he's going to win, and if he wins, he's not going to support you the way I'm going to support you. So maybe you sit on this for 3 weeks, 4 weeks until the election's done.
I mean, it happens.
And it happens. That's politics. But meanwhile, it's something that was never made a connection for the Democrats, and that's why I don't truly believe that the smartest, the best, and the brightest are running this country. If you and I can sit here, two guys who military, two POGs, who we just spout our opinions, but our opinions, in my opinion, again, biased, but I think a lot of our ideas make a hell of a lot more sense than the people who are actually making the real decisions in this country. And I just go,
why we'll never go anywhere nationally, politically.
Because we make too much sense.
Hold on. What is the name of the RNC leader? What's her name? Something Trump. Huh?
Trump.
Yeah. I can't remember her name.
I don't. Again, it's his daughter-in-law.
Yeah, I can't remember her name.
I'll have it here in a second. Let's see. RNC National Party Chair.
Laura Trump.
Laura. Yeah, okay. You beat me to it.
Yeah.
What about her?
Hold on. Hold on.
What about her?
So remember the speech she gave about nepotism,
No.
or the speech she gave. So she gave a speech about how if about women getting positions of merit, and if she didn't earn it, she don't want a job. If she's never gotten a job based off her own achievements, she didn't
Sure.
want it. And how she was talking about Kamala Harris and how she wasn't qualified and how she didn't earn it. And it was awkward. And then even the Fox reporter who she was giving the interview to was like, they gave that awkward look, like she's like, you're the co-chair of the RNC because your name is Trump. And she couldn't pick onto the subtleties. And I think you get a lot of that in politics now. Like, people are so, I don't know, they're so far up their own toot horn that it's beyond them, man. And we, I don't know, I think we're like that as a society now, right? We're like that as a society now. And I don't know what we can do about that, right? I don't know what we can do about that.
So I think part of the problem there is and they've done the studies on it. They've said, do you believe you're in the top half or the bottom half of the average IQ? And it's something like 95% of people think they're in the top 50%. They've done these type of surveys, like, you, by definition, you're 50-50 chance you're not in the top half. And so we've got, as humans, I think in general, we've got a higher belief in ourselves and our positions and what we think about ourselves and all that. And so for me, like, I am confident in my opinions. I think that's fair to say. However, I am more than willing to hear other people's thoughts and opinions. And if I get more information and new information, I'd like to think that I am secure enough in who I am to say, well, oh yeah, you know what? Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. On a lot of the issues that last 2 weeks ago, when you and Thad and you were talking about what President Obama has done for the Black community, I'd like to think I'm smart enough to say, that's not my lane. I'm not getting involved. Even if I had opinions, and so, but at the same time, I think the average person, again, if you were to say, how informed are you in politics? Are you extremely informed, highly informed, moderately informed, not informed? I think most people would say, I'm moderately informed. But then if you had a questionnaire of 10 fairly basic questions, and I'm not talking like how many branches of government are there. I'm talking more like, who's the Chief Justice of the United States Supreme Court, right? Who is the governor of the largest state in the Union, California? Some of. I'm
like, oh, I know that one. But go ahead.
So there's a few you would get, right? But the average person, I think if you ask the average person and you said, okay, what, not what are questions that everybody should get, but how many members of Congress are there combined? Yep. I think most people wouldn't get that. You can get to even more simple things. You see these men on the street interviews, and I think they cut them to make people look stupid.
My favorite interview of all time. I love men on the street interviews. I love.
And they cut them to make people look stupid. Let's be real honest. When they say how many justices of the Supreme Court are there, and they're like, or how many states are there?
Yep.
What's the capital of the United States?
Yep.
So absolutely. Do they show the 90 people out of 100 that got it right? No, they show the 10 that got it wrong. Yeah. And the funny thing is, the 10 that got it wrong, they're the ones that are on every single question, right?
Yep. Yep.
But then my question would be, to those 10 people, how smart do you believe you are? But every single one of them says, I'm real smart. Oh, yeah. I know. What kind of grades did you get in high school? I got really good grades.
Oh, That's the setup question. Hey, what do you do? Oh, I just graduated, or I'm studying poli-sci or something like that. And you'd be like,
Oh, poli-sci, yeah.
Oh, you're finna get set up. Don't say that. Be like, oh, just lie. Be like, oh, I'm a basket weaver. Don't tell the truth. Like, oh my God. All right, hold on. Let's get to it. I owe you some videos. So hold tight. I got a couple of videos we're gonna play, but I wanted to play this for you since you said you hadn't seen it. So hopefully
I'm gonna eat my snack while you're doing it.
All right, let me see if I can get it to play.
Let's be honest, she has failed upward her entire career. Somehow we know why Joe Biden chose her to be vice president with him. He said, these aren't my words, these are his. We want to choose someone not based on merit, not based on their skill set, not based on the fact that they might be the best person for the job of vice president, based on how she looked, based on the fact that this is a woman, based on the fact that she was a minority woman. That's really gross as far as I'm concerned. I'm a woman, do me a favor, don't ever give me a position based on the fact that I'm a woman. Either I earned it or I didn't. And that's it. That's all I need. Let's be honest. She has failed her entire career.
So
well, hold on. Let's be fair. If she was Trump's son-in-law, she probably would have got the job too. It's probably not because she's a woman.
Yeah, it's not because it's not because she didn't
of the nepotism.
Woman. She didn't get it because she's a woman. Fair enough. But she damn sure didn't get it because of her merit. Nowhere close.
Probably not. I mean, I don't know her, so I'm not going to judge what her background is. But when I see, because let's put it the other way. Are there people that, despite the nepotism, would have proven to be worth what they do? I think a great example in Hollywood, you hear a lot about the term nepo baby, right?
Yes.
And I think Kathy Lee Curtis is a great example. Her dad was Tony Curtis. Her mom was Vivian Lee, I believe.
Yep.
So two very, very powerful, talented people in Hollywood. And if she had been on the set of Halloween, which I believe was her first movie, if she had performed like Francis Ford Coppola's daughter did in Godfather 3, she's probably not the Kathy Lee that that she's probably not the star that we know.
Right. But the difference between that is you don't get that role and then you go on TV and then try to bash everybody else saying, oh, don't just give me a role because of my name. Give me a role. If I didn't earn it, then I don't give me anything. That's bullshit.
Well, I think it'd be really, but I think it would. I'm sure you could find clips like that though.
Yeah.
I'm sure you could.
Not on national TV when they asking you can't go on national TV and bash this woman about her qualifications, knowing good and damn well the only reason you're in the position you're in is because your name is Trump. You can't. Well, that just shows a severe lack of self-awareness.
So let me ask you this then. And I know the answer for myself on this. Was the message right, but the messenger was wrong? It was the wrong messenger.
Right message. Absolutely. Right message. We completely agree with it.
So that's where
message.
Well, but that's where part of the problem becomes, is if you're trying to put out the right message, and if your messenger is not necessarily the right person, but that messenger is in that position, it looks stupid, it looks bad, but what do you do? Like, do you say, well, you're the head of you're the RNC head, and so I think Steele ran into what's his name? Steele ran into that when he was trying to bash Obama. He's like, as a black man, blah blah blah, and it's like, dude,
yeah,
hold on, you're probably in this position because President Obama is black, and the RNC was going, hey Michael Steele, we need somebody in this position to look similar to Barack Obama, and you have the right, shall we say, pigmentation,
right?
So, if he were to go on and say, oh, the only reason Barack Obama was in this position is because he was black, And I guarantee you, Michael Steele at some point said that, though, right?
Yeah, he did, and it was received the same way, and they were like, but it's the same thing.
Right.
I mean, but it's the same thing. I mean, but we see this time and time again. It's the same thing with Clarence Thomas with affirmative action. Oh, well, why do we have affirmative? Well, had it not been for affirmative action, you would not be in the seat. Understand, brother? It's one of the things you can't acknowledge it and be a recipient of it and then come back. It's like Elon Musk, right? Coming out and saying, "Hey, times are hard right now. We all need to do a little bit better to tighten up our boot. You know, we all need to do a little bit better and try to tighten up our boot straps." I feel you.
Wait, that didn't. You mean that didn't work out for all the Hollywood people during the COVID lockdown? How we just need to imagine and get together?
Or like, all right. So remember when Oprah and like The Rock and all these millionaires in Honolulu was like, "Hey, it was like, oh, if you guys could only give just a little bit, these people are hurting." It was like, "Are you out of your freaking mind? Leave us alone." Like that the message doesn't resonate to normal people. You look crazy. You know what I'm saying? And the
especially Oprah. Yeah. Oprah's worth more than every single person's combined value that was burnt out. She's got more money than that.
Yeah, and the last thing the Republicans can afford is and that's the biggest problem I have with those guys is like, hey man, you're trying to pull people in, you're trying to convince people that you understand what's going on. Tim Walz, for better or for worse, this dude is doing a masterful job of convincing the masses that, hey, I am one of you, right? And the difference I think is where we're going to have an issue is no matter how much, the harder Tim Vance tries to seem normal.
JD Vance.
The harder he tries to seem normal, the more people are going to pick on him, right? He's just that weird soldier that the more he tries to fit in, the more he's going to stick out. Whereas the other dude just has a natural charisma the way he's just like, you know, no matter what he does, he's just going to seem like just a typical G Howdy Midwestern dude. No matter how evilly he can have a body sitting in the basement, you know what I'm saying? But he's going to be out mowing his yard in New Balance. You can be like, hey, that guy, that damn Walz is a great guy. You know what I'm saying? And that's my biggest fear for this election cycle. People aren't going to see the bodies in the basement. They're going to see him out mowing his lawn in his New Balance and be like, man, that Tim Walz is a great guy.
And that is exactly why I'm saying the media is the problem right now. And the media has been the problem. When you have the stories that are coming out and the focus is, does JD Vance wear eyeliner? Our hard-hitting investigation will go delve into the eyeliner of JD Vance. And he
totally does.
Apparently, well, I don't know. Apparently not. His wife says it's natural, so I think it looks like he does too. But his wife says no, so I don't know. But again, if that's the issues that the press, instead of going in, and this is to me the JD Vance and the Walz. It's for JD Vance. It's the Mitt Romney, right?
Yeah, over again.
The press loved Mitt Romney, but then any little thing that you can go after. Yeah. They're going after because you can't really, the press can't go after Trump anymore. It doesn't work.
Yep.
Teflon Don. They've thrown every possible thing. Trump, this is why I think Ben Carson actually would have been the right choice for Trump. Because Ben Carson, how do you look, the biggest thing you're going to attack Ben Carson on is he's a mellow guy and he doesn't have a lot of fire and he just he's going to be a lackey of Trump. Well, whoever you pick is going to be a lackey of Trump because whoever you pick as the V is always a lackey of the president. It doesn't matter who it is. You don't ever. LBJ was still a lackey to Kennedy until Kennedy was assassinated.
Yep.
So, but while we have the JD Vance thing, that when the media does this stuff where they push the literal fabrication of JD Vance is weird because he has an obsession with couches. That came from a satire site. And it made it into Walz's first speech. Oh yeah,
I'm a down home, guy who I'll go out and help my neighbors. I'll even go help move a couch, which might be more important for some people. See what I did there? Like, really? You want to talk about the stupid little things that Trump going off after Kamala Harris being, whether she's black or Indian or whatever. Yeah, that's stupid. I get it. I don't think it's a winning strategy. It's not a. I mean, and here's the thing. It doesn't even matter if Trump is right in terms of Kamala Harris's mom is Indian. And so what?
That's wasted. I think that's wasted. Like, dude,
yeah.
You got way too much ammo. Like, that's you're wasting ammo on that. That's
and that is not going to. Trump needs to go after the 6% in the middle. The 47% rule is being wasted, and I don't know what's going on in the Trump campaign.
Yeah.
I don't know who's around him. I don't know if they're sick of his shtick, but I will say this again at the same, and I'm going to go back to the media. KJ, a month ago, there was an assassination attempt against a former president of the United States and the current front runner, or I mean the nominee for the Republican Party, and it's been memory wiped. It's been
insane. That's how crazy this election cycle is. That nobody even talks about it no more. The couch is more popular.
The eyeliner of JD Vance, does he or doesn't he, is more important than did the Secret Service actively ignore their duties, because then there's a higher potential for a candidate that they may not have approved of.
We got to get some
video,
killed. Man. Hold on. Oh my God. Hold on.
And we haven't even gone into the Secret Service stuff that's come up over the past few weeks.
I know we haven't talked about anything lately. Hold on. Let's see if we can get into it. Let's see. All right. So we got a couple of videos. Hold on. We'll catch up on Vance real quick. See what he got going on.
I don't know. Does he wear eyeliner?
Nope. This is from his press tour from earlier today. He did a couple of press tours.
Do you believe Kamala Harris is black?
I believe that Kamala Harris is whatever she says she is. But I believe, importantly,
that
President Trump is right, that she's a comedian.
No.
She pretends to be
I just see the thumbnails.
Yes, she pretends to be something different in front of another audience.
All right, we got to go back. All right, see what happened. Stop sharing. That's what happened. See, got ahead of myself. How about now? See if we can.
I can see you.
Yep.
Hi, KJ.
I see what's going on. All right,
there we go.
All right.
Oh, my favorite Dana Bash. My favorite fair journalist.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, this.
Do you believe Kamala Harris is black?
I believe that Kamala Harris is whatever she says she is. But I believe, importantly, that President Trump is right, that she's a chameleon. She pretends to be one thing in front of one audience. She pretends to be something different in front of another audience. She only speaks to voters behind a teleprompter. Everything is scripted. She doesn't have her policy positions out there. And I think that's what President Trump is getting at. This is a fundamentally fake person. She's different depending on who she's in front of.
With respect, you changed your position on an important thing, which is Donald Trump.
Of course I did.
And so why are you not a chameleon?
Because, Dana, I've explained to the American people what's different. People change their minds when the facts change. They should. But if you want to be the people's vice president or president, you should have to stand before an interviewer and say, this is why I changed my mind. For example, the media said Donald Trump accused all Mexicans of being rapists and criminals. You actually look at what he said. He did not say that at all. And I think it's important when you see something, you change your mind. And that's all I've done.
One.
Great answer.
Which I think he did really well on that one.
I will say this. I don't love the fact that that's a question to begin with. Is Kamala Harris black? And the answer of she is whatever she says she is. I wouldn't even say that because that goes into the whole,
Yeah, a whole nother issue we don't need to go into, right? But why is that even a question? Who cares?
It was a trap question.
Absolutely, and it was a great answer. And he's right.
Yeah.
He's absolutely right when she says, "All right, well, are you being hypocritical about your position on Trump?" And he says, "Well, no, because I've explained why. Like, you're asking me why I've changed my position. Here's why." But Dana, and he's implying it like, Dana, you're not asking Kamala Harris any of these hard questions. You'll go in and you'll ask her, "Hey, Vice President Harris, what's your favorite collard greens recipe?" I mean, did you see that video today of her talking about so many people were asking her for collard greens over Christmas? She literally had to use. Anyway.
Wells served 24 years. Sure. He even stayed after he could have retired because of 9/11, more than the country asked of him. Do you honor his service?
I honor his service. And I've never criticized what Tim Walz did when he was in the military. I criticized his retirement decision. And most importantly, Dana, I criticized his lying about his own record, okay? This is a guy who was captured on video saying, "I carried a gun in war." He never went to war. This is a guy who's been captured on video. As other people say, he's an Afghanistan veteran. He's a veteran of a war, nodding along in agreement instead of saying, no, I did serve my country and I did it honorably, but I never went to a war zone. I'm not criticizing Tim Walz's service. I'm criticizing the fact that he lied about his service for political gain, Dana.
A little bit of wordplay there. He said, "I carried guns in war," but I get it.
Well, but that's the point. Yeah. So he's saying, look, if you're going to misrepresent what you did for political gain, that's the problem. That's the definition of stolen valor, is when you misrepresent who or what you are as somebody in the military for political gain. Or not just for gain, right? Okay. So is it illegal? My son's 14 years, just turned 15 years old. Is it illegal for my son to throw on one of my uniforms and go walking around in Augusta?
Yes.
It's illegal? No.
If he has names on it.
It's not illegal. No, it's not. It is absolutely not. The problem is once he goes into Dunkin' Donuts and they say, "Oh, thank you for your service, we're going to comp you your donut." Now it's illegal because you're getting gain. The rest of it has been found as freedom of speech. You don't have to agree with it, but it's protected under the First Amendment. Okay? Yeah. So stolen valor only comes into play when it's gaining an advantage. So if that big fat guy at the airport who you and I first look and go, "Hey there, Sergeant Major General of the Army who's got 47 different badges and 18 deployments and 43 years worth of service, and you're 28 years old and you're 270 pounds and but you're airborne and all that stuff, and you're a Pathfinder too, and airborne, and air assault, and a master parachute. Wow, dude." Those things, yeah, people get embarrassed. It's not illegal. Those are absolutely protected by the First Amendment. But the minute he does it to get gain, even a free donut, now it's illegal. So, yeah. So when what Walz was doing, he started saying, "I was a sergeant major, command sergeant major, and I deployed. So I want your vote because I know what it was like." That's where the problem is. So once it's in campaign materials,
he never said he deployed.
Yes, he did.
Where I've never seen that, and he
said, "I've seen the video." I've seen the video, and I've seen it. I've seen the video. I went back. Here's the funny thing: not only did I see the video, I went back to go get it and to send it to you the next day. The Twitter account had been.
So that was the video you was trying to send to me. Yeah, I didn't see it, and then.
Yeah.
Put I think I said, matter of fact, in that video that I just showed you, he posted a redaction.
Recently, the Harris campaign recently came out with something that said, "Hey, he misspoke."
But in that video, and this is from years ago, he said, I've carried weapons of war in a combat zone. I've been to war. That's what he said.
That's what he said he was misspeaking on. That's what they put in the redaction at.
And okay, so here's the other part of it. This is why it doesn't matter. Hillary Clinton said, when I got to, where was it? Serbia, I left that helicopter under a hail of bullets, and we had to go running in because snipers were shooting at us, and we were so concerned. And it turned out, here's video of Hillary Clinton walking off the helicopter as she meets the the president of Serbia, and he shakes hand. And here's the Secretary of State as they slowly walk. Did it matter? No. This is, to me, this is another one of those little political ones that it's trying to make a mountain out of a molehill. I don't understand. Again, when you're talking about the campaign, there is so much there from Walz's policies in Minnesota, pretty left-leaning, strongly left-leaning policies. And Harris was the most liberal senator when she was there. You know, it's funny. It wasn't Dana Walsh, I don't think, but it was one of them who said, you're pretty far left, and she says, "Oh no, I'm in." And the interviewer was like, "Actually, you were the furthest left," and she's like, "Oh, there's the receipt." But it's kind of like the same thing that's going to happen with Trump here. I was on a helicopter with Willie Brown. I know Willie Brown, and I have the receipts. And maybe he's wrong. It sounds like he's probably confusing Willie Brown with another politician. And if it happens, you know what's going to happen? He's not going to say another word about it. And honestly, the press is probably not going to push him on it, because ultimately, if they press Trump on something like misremembering or misidentifying who he was in a helicopter with, then you're probably going to have to start saying, "Oh, well, hey, okay, Willie Brown. Hey, Kamala Harris, what was your relationship with Willie Brown?" President Trump says he was wrong about his relationship with Willie Brown. What was your relationship with Willie Brown?
Yeah. Well, so they did ask Willie Brown about that, and he said he was never in the helicopter with Trump. So that was just a case of Willie Brown. I mean Trump. Yeah. I got into a really good discussion. I don't think it was heated, but the young gentleman that I was discussing, he got really upset. So he said I put this title for a reason, because he said Trump wasn't lying, he just spoke, right? And I said, kind of like how Biden used to misspeak, and the Republican Party used to go in on him for his misspeakings and fumbling over words and then freezing up all the time. And I said that was a big deal 6 months ago. But I said, you either lying or you're not lying, or you're misspoken and then you get a chance to redact it. But if you misspeak and you double down on it, and the guy that you misspoke about comes out and says, "Hey, no, man, I never rode in a helicopter with you," am I to believe the guy that's lying, or am I supposed to believe the guy that he's lying on that said I was never in there? And he was like, then that's when I became I was a fifth grade. I was a no comprehension having fifth grade reading level. I'm the reason why they should get rid of the board of education, because I lack the comprehension to understand what they're trying to say. So that was an interesting conversation. I was like, and then come to find out the dude dropped out of like middle school or some shit. And I was like,
so, okay. So here's part of the problem with that whole thing, KJ. I don't know what the truth of that situation is. You don't know what the truth of that situation is. There are probably half a dozen people that know the truth of that situation. You're probably talking about Trump, whoever he was in the helicopter with, a couple of pilots. So maybe 4, if there were a couple. Let's be generous. Let's say 6 people.
So Jerry Brown, the guy that was actually in the helicopter, actually came out and said, "Hey, no, Trump got it confused. It wasn't Willie Brown. It was me. And not only was it me," and he said, "Not only was it me, Gavin Newsom was also in the helicopter with us." So they interviewed Gavin Newsom, And Gavin Newsom said, oh yeah, that was us. We were doing a survey of the area, and at no time were we in danger at all. So you got the governor, you got the former mayor, who both said, hey, no, that was us. That wasn't Willie Brown. And then you got Willie Brown saying, hey, no, I never was in a helicopter with them.
You know how
Trump saying, no, I was with Willie Brown.
But here's the problem. Here's the problem. All Trump now listen. I'm gonna do the yeah but thing. All Trump has to do is say, well, I'm not talking about the time that we were in. I'm talking about a different time. You guys are saying it was that time. That's not when it was. I remember being with you guys flying around. I was at a different time in a helicopter with Willie Brown. Now, I'm just saying, if he wanted to double or triple down, he could. But part of the problem here is when we're talking about truth, nobody believes anybody. How do you say, do I believe Willie Brown because he's probably not a big fan or under the voting block of Trump's normal
fair enough
contingencies, right? So if let's just say for a second, for devil's advocate, let's say that really did happen. Let's say Trump and Willie Brown really were in a helicopter that really did have mechanical issues and they really did land. And do you think for a second, Willie Brown, if it did happen, do you think Willie Brown would say, yeah, actually that did happen and that's legit? Yep. He wouldn't. He just wouldn't. And I understand why, because it's part of he's more benefit. If it did happen, it makes way more sense for him to gaslight and go, Trump's crazy. No, never happened. What? No. He's hey, you guys were all blaming Biden there for Trump is off his rocker.
Not that their credibility is believed right now, but the Secret Service says that they have no record of him having helicopter issues.
Was this supposed to be done when he was in the seat?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't hear that part of the story.
So
okay,
I got the video. You want to see the video? I got the video.
No, I don't care.
Yeah,
that changes.
Yeah.
So that changes it then.
Yeah, so
okay.
It's kind of one of them things where you're like, when you got the Secret Service, like, hey, Mr. President, you should probably, you know what I'm saying? Like,
pull the reins back on that one. Just take the L.
But
so
Trump
KJ,
he's gonna sue. He did say he's gonna sue. So there's that.
So Trump's gonna sue. So, but KJ, let me ask you this: would you have more respect for Trump right now if tonight or tomorrow he had a presser or during his next campaign rally, he kind of said, you know what? I was totally wrong. I pulled who was the journalist that was on like NBC Nightly News that had to like resign because he lied about
lying, talking about he was in combat and was taking all those rounds. I know who you're talking about. I can't remember his name right now.
It wasn't Matt Lauer. His was sexual. Anyway, so tomorrow night, Trump gets up into the campaign and he says, hey, you know what? There's been a lot of talk about me and Willie Brown. There's been a lot of talk about let me set the record straight. I was wrong. I know it happens. I was wrong. I was misremembering. I thought this is what happened. I was confusing it with something else. Look, if people want to go off and say he's old, this and that, remember, these are the people who thought Biden was just fine just 4 or 5 months ago, 4 or 5 weeks ago. They were lying to you. In this case, I didn't mean to lie to you. I was wrong. I legitimately thought it was Willie Brown. I'm sorry. I thought it was somebody else. Once the Secret Service came and they said this is who it was, I realized, oh crap, I was wrong. And I owe it to you to be truthful.
Yep.
Why not? Oh my gosh. Do you know how many independents would go, finally, he's admitting something. He's been such just an arrogant egomaniac that believes his own lies. And he's admitting that he was wrong. Okay. Is this the new Trump? Because to me, again, and we've talked about it, the Trump of the first Biden debate, the Trump of the first 30 minutes of the RNC, The tone down, I have had an experience, especially after the assassination.
Yep.
That's a winning Trump.
Yep.
And if he says, look, I've done the job before, you know what you're going to get with me. When I tell you things, I'm going to try to always be straight with you. In the Willie Brown thing, I was wrong, and I'm trying to be straight with you. But let me also be real honest with you right now. If you think Kamala Harris is truly going to fix the border after 4 years of being the border czar and being under the, you should vote for her. If you think she can fix the economy better than I did from 2016 to 2020, before this country got decimated by COVID, and I was lied to by Fauci, and I was told you had to wear masks, and I was told you social distancing, and I was told the vaccines, I was lied to as well. And you know what? I'm proud of what we tried to do, but looking back, I was lied to, and I don't think that it's fair that you were lied to either. Oh my gosh. I mean, it's just who is running his, and I understand it's Trump.
It wouldn't be close.
And I understand it's Trump. But somebody, I guess it goes back to the person. Okay, there's a book called Turn the Ship Around, and it was written by a naval commander who, and I believe it's from Turn the Ship Around, Mark Wart, I think his name was. But there's a story in it about, or you know what, it wasn't him. It was a Navy chaplain. He tells the story how he was called into, they were getting ready to set sail on one of the big crafts, and the captain comes in, and the captain on a naval ship is a big deal, right? Yeah. That is not, and that's not a minor position. That is a god.
Yeah.
Okay. So he gets called in, and as he's sitting there, he sees the commander, and the commander, crosses, like puts his one leg up on his, and they're in their more casual dress. Well, he's wearing one brown sock and one black sock. And as they're talking, they're just going through hey, chaplain, this is what I expect for you, da-da-da-da. And hey, hey, chaplain, thanks for coming in. Hey, was there anything you wanted to talk to me about, or anything, that you're concerned about? And the chaplain says, no, sir, I really think this is great. But sir, I want to let you know, I don't know if you've noticed, but you're wearing one black sock and one brown sock. And the captain says, you know what, chaplain? You're the first person to point that out. I know I'm wearing a black sock and a brown sock. And everybody else I've had in here they didn't tell me. So guess what, chaplain? You're my new running buddy.
Wow.
So every morning when I go for my run, you're running with me, because I know you're going to tell me what I need to hear. And that's what I need. I need somebody on this boat who's going to tell me what I need to hear. Trump needs a Navy chaplain. Trump needs somebody, and he needs to listen to that person.
Yeah.
I don't know if I wanted to touch from what you were saying about Lara Trump.
Yeah.
And the nepotism and all that. From what I've seen of Ivanka, I'd vote for Ivanka. She seems, of all the Trump kids, she seems the
solid. Like, how did that happen? There's always one that breaks the mold. It's like she escaped.
Yes. She actually improved on her lot in life. From what I've seen from her, she seems like an exemplary person.
Yeah. Yes.
So maybe it's her. Maybe she is able to go in and say, Dad, I love you. You need to stop listening to these idiots.
Yeah.
Okay? You also need to stop listening to yourself.
Yeah.
You are 78, 79 years old. You are smart enough at this point in life to realize that you don't know it all. You need to change what you're doing, and you really need to bring some people in, because they are talented in what they do. Yep. You are absolutely talented in what you do, but you don't know all of it. And as long as you keep acting like you are the smartest guy in the room in every room at all times, there's a problem with that.
Yeah.
And Dad, I'm not even saying I'm smarter than you. I could be wrong. But in this case, I don't think so.
Yep.
And he needs somebody that he respects that will tell him, Donald, you didn't really win the club championship. Everybody else purposely chucked it. All right. Nobody is going to go out of their way to win the Mar-a-Lago Club Championship when you're playing. But if you want to go out and play against any scratch golfer, and we've got several at this course, we've got several at this here at the members that are scratch golfers. If you want to bet whatever it is, and that scratch golfer will beat you by 10 strokes, let's go.
Yeah.
But I need to talk to that scratch golfer first.
Yep.
And make sure that scratch golfer is going to play the best he can.
Yeah.
Because a scratch golfer is going to beat Trump on any course by 20 strokes.
Yep. Easily.
So I think that's what he needs. Harris, here's the funny thing about Harris. She's doing exactly what she needs to do. She's not why should she do anything but get in front of a teleprompter?
But that's her fatal flaw. Eventually she's gonna have to talk. And I got videos that I think you're gonna really joke. We didn't get we've still got 9 minutes, right? Yeah.
So let's just talk for 9 more minutes.
Yep.
But the videos are great, but you and I think it's I would like to think that people want to listen to us more than watch videos they can go find anyway. And you can always add those into the comments so they can go read it.
Yep.
But I think that at this point, Kamala Harris is doing she is playing it perfectly well.
Yep.
She is the shiny new toy.
Yep. She's hitting all the hits.
And nobody, if the press isn't going to go out and say, well, yeah, you're the shiny new toy, but weren't you made with lead parts? Like you could literally be killing kids, and the paint that is on this shiny new toy is going to lead to birth defects, and it's going to and we have reports of the toys falling apart and choking hazards and all this stuff. And she's going, nope, I don't know what you're talking about. And nobody asks her about it. Why would she ever disclose anything?
I see them as both. They're both the same candidate, just on opposite sides of the coin, right? If Donald Trump would just stick to the script, right? Play the hits. I took a bullet for your country. I am the only one that can save us. We need to get back to the basics. Thank you. I'm out. Donald Trump will be up by 10 points overnight. Kamala Harris, so far.
I don't think you would. I think it'd be pretty much right now. I think it would be tied because of the shiny new toy.
Right. But the issue that Kamala Harris is going to run into, like right now, JD Vance is doing a great job at putting pressure on him, because eventually they're going to get tired of him asking the same damn question. And eventually they're going to call it the task. Because now you're getting black media saying, well, hell, she's going to have to talk eventually. Like, hey, well, you're right. It's been 21 days. Why haven't she had an interview? You know what I'm saying? She's done all these rallies. She's done all these press tours. Why hasn't anybody sat her down? So now,
and isn't that amazing what you just said, though? Who's asking that question?
Yeah, you got black media asking the question now.
And why is black media asking the question?
That's what I'm saying. But see, that's the point. JD is doing his job, and he's doing a great job at it. He's like, hey,
of course.
Yeah, and that's why I said he needs to stick to, don't fall into the trap. If he just sticks to the base, he could be a great VP if he just stops with the weird shit. Don't fall into the trap. Just stick to the basic. Where is the president? Where is the vice president? Keep them on task. What is their part? He did a great. He had a line where he was like, "Hey, If you go to the Kamala Harris website right now, they still don't have policies laid out. What does she stand for? What is she about? Do you even know what she's about? And the reporter was like, she was like, well, we're gonna ask her. He was like, I think that's a great question you should ask. You know what we're about. Then well, let me tell you what we're about. And that go ahead.
But did you see the other part that the reporter said?
What?
She said, well, JD Vance, what are your policies?
Yeah.
He's not running for president.
And that's what I'm saying. And I thought that was perfect. And as long as he can keep it right there, like if he could keep it in that, I was like, God Almighty, if you could keep it in that sweet spot, brother, you are in there. Don't go. I was like, whoever's coaching you right there, that's where you need to be, because that was perfect. The only thing I'm worried about.
And this is why Vivek should have been the VP.
Absolutely.
Can you imagine? As good as JD Vance right now is on some of these issues? Vivek is he would be I don't want to say the Chihuahua lapdog that would be yapping.
But that's exactly what he would be, though.
He'd be more of a Doberman. He'd be like, I'm genuinely dangerous I'm genuinely I am a legitimate problem for you.
I would have, oh my God, I would have loved to have seen him and Shapiro. Oh my God. Him and Shapiro.
Well, okay. So next week we're gonna have to talk, well, as they come up. But looking forward, the only things that I don't even care about the DNC convention. I don't even know when it is. I know it's upcoming.
It's a freaking sham. It's the DNC. I mean, excuse my language. It's such a crap show, man.
Oh yeah.
I'm so disenfranchised with the whole process. Like,
there's a point where, like, you and I kind of want to go, hey, next week let's just talk about the Dodgers and Braves playoffs. But sorry, I didn't mean to make you feel bad on that. But there's still a chance. But like I'm with you. Like the DNC, like I didn't care about the Republican convention either. I'm looking forward to the two debates, but even the election, again, I look at the election and I go, the vast majority of people are not going to be affected by the decisions of the next president until it's too late for them to realize that the decisions affect them.
Exactly.
And that, to me, that's where the lack of vetting, the lack of accountability, the lack of the media doing their job is honestly criminal. It's something that if you are a journalist and you are getting out journalized, which is not a word, but if you're getting out journalized by people on Twitter, you need to resign. Yeah. So that's my last word. You need to resign. Get out of the way. The only thing that is going to keep this election potentially fair, I think, truly is Twitter and the other non-legacy media that's out there. And they can only do so much. Elon Musk can only ask Kamala Harris on. So I think Joe Rogan, he won't ask Trump on. But I want nothing more than for him to have Trump on and Kamala Harris on back-to-back days. And just so it's fair, like, cut it so it's 2 hours of Trump, 2 hours of Harris, and then 2 hours the next day of Harris and 2 hours the next day of Trump. Something like that.
Yeah, they just as soon do podcasts. Hey, Trump's campaign got hacked by the Iranians. Apparently, the Iranians have been trying to hack both campaigns, and some idiot staffer opened the email and gave them access to all of it.
Yep, spearing. But at the same time, the Secret Service let somebody get a shot at President Trump, so hacking is not that big of a deal.
What in the world? What is this world coming to? Anyway, we are running out of time, man. 90
minutes.
Gotta cut it.
We gotta cut it.
We'll try to get to you guys next week, but it's just more turd soup, man. I'm sorry. It's just state of affairs. We'll try to hang in there. Buckle up. Yep. We got what 78 more days, man. See you next week. We out.
All right, bye.
ending